The Soul Redeemer, Book 3, Chapter 35, Plans and Purposes. As exhausted as Nicole was, she had a hard time sleeping because of the mix of emotions. She couldn't shake the horrors of what was taking place at Triangle Park, and she knew it would continue unless it was shut down. On the other hand, she was elated that they had been able to rescue this one little girl. They had stayed at the inn that night, and when Nicole woke up the next morning, she stumbled to the coffee pot that was already halfway gone. Jake sat at the table looking at maps. "What are you doing?" she asked as she kissed the top of his head. "Just praying and asking God where to go next," he replied as he took another swig of his coffee. There was a knock on their apartment door. Nicole opened it, and Robert stood looking apologetic. "I thought you would want to hear the news," he said. "Yes, come in," Casey said. "Coffee?" Jake asked. "No, thank you." He sat down across from Jake. "President Faraday's body was discovered early this morning." Jake looked puzzled. "I can't say that I'm sorry. There was something not right about that man and his activities. But why is this important for us to know?" Robert explained. "His blood has been drained from his body, and his heart was removed from his chest. This is a ritualistic practice, inferring that Faraday was under the rule of the occult, the Illuminati. It is also a bold statement, proclaiming that Faraday has been removed from his office, most likely because of failure of some kind. His blood and heart will be given to the next in line within the shadow government to eat and drink, a ritual of transference. This type of death is also a warning for the new person not to fail, as Faraday did." Jake scratched his head. You're telling me something important here, but I'm not sure I'm following you. Are you saying that President Faraday, even though he was no longer in an official government position, was still someone of significant influence and position within what you're calling the shadow government?" "That is correct," Robert said. "I believe that his death is significant to us because he was heading up the investigation on Joel. Joel's death should have moved Faraday to an even higher position, yet they killed him. The question is, why? It may be that he failed his assignment." "Are you implying that Joel may still be alive?" Jake asked. Robert said, "I am saying that something would have gone terribly wrong for this kind of statement and warning to have been issued." Nicole asked, "Robert, how did you receive this news?" "You forget that as clones, Risa and I have had to remain connected to the network. We have worked hard at learning to shut down the tech side of our thought process and to focus on the human side of our lives. Our spirit is connected with the Holy Spirit so that we listen to and obey His voice. However, we are learning that at times our Father chooses to use what was meant for evil. This morning, Father had me listen to the network, and he highlighted Faraday's death. This is why I believe he must have some reason for us to know this information." "Should we call Sam?" Nicole asked as a ray of hope that Joel may still be alive began to emerge. Robert said, "I believe so." The phone was in the lobby downstairs. Risa was already there, and Jake carried it to the dining room and dialed the number. Sam answered, and Robert asked, "Have you heard the news?" "If you're speaking of Faraday, yes, I have," he answered. "The details?" Robert questioned. "No." "His blood was drained and his heart was removed." Sam whistled. "What's your take on this, my friend?" "I am wondering if he failed in his assignment with Joel." "Now that's a stumper of a thought," Sam exclaimed. "Let me see what I can dig up. I'll be in touch," he said. As Robert hung up the phone, a familiar voice came from the couch in the lounge. "Can't you people let a tired old man sleep?" And then another beloved voice answered from the kitchen. "What's that you be complaining about now, Mr. Joel? I'm working as fast as it be possible in someone else's kitchen." Jemima came into view, carrying a tray with tea and toast. At the same moment, Joel came around the corner and pointed to the 4 shocked individuals sitting at a table with their mouths hanging open. For a split second in time, everything was quiet, until comprehension dawned. Jemima set the tray down and lifted her hands toward heaven. "Lord be praised!" she exclaimed. "I didn't know where in the world we'd been set down." Nicole jumped up and ran for her. "It's you!" she shouted with joy as she hugged her precious friend. She grabbed Joel and gave him a big hug as well. "You're alive!" she laughed and cried all at the same time. And then she stopped, pinched herself, waited a moment, and then said, "Nope, I'm not dreaming, am I?" Jemima grabbed her again in a big bear hug. "No, honey child, you ain't be dreaming. It's real." Jake, Robert, and Risa all gathered around with hugs and handshakes and greetings, all asking questions at once until Joel said, "Stop. Let's go sit and eat, and then we can talk one at a time." "You're right, sir," Nicole said as she professionally picked up the tray for Jemima. "Welcome to the Samaritan Inn. Please follow me." With much restraint, everyone waited patiently for Joel to eat his toast, except for Nicole, who waited impatiently. When the last bite was put into his mouth, she asked, "What happened? Sam saw the building blow up and he thought you were in it. How did you get here?" Joel raised his hand to quiet Nicole. He slowly took a sip of his tea and set it back down on the table. When he was ready, he began. "Sam did see the building blow, but I wasn't in it. I had left the building fully expecting to be killed shortly after leaving the studio. When the blast went off, I turned and saw Jemima hurrying toward me. She grabbed onto me, and then it seemed as if someone jumped on top of us, knocking us to the ground, but whoever it was invisible. The next thing we knew, we were standing here in the lobby. I went to lie down on the couch, while Jemima rummaged in the kitchen. By the way, what is today?" "Thursday, sir," Nicole said. "You've been dead for 3 days." "Well, I don't know where we've been for 3 days. I don't have any memory of anything. Do you, Jemima?" "No, sir, I don't," she said with a pout. "You'd think if we was dead it would have been nice if we could have remembered something of our home and glory." "Well, we're alive and here now for a purpose," Joel said. "I don't know what that is yet, but I'm sure that the good Lord must have an important job for me to do if I am to keep on living. Truth be told, I was looking forward to heaven, and it's nothing personal, but I'm a little disappointed to find that I'm still on this earth." Jake said, "I can only imagine you would be, but I think that once you hear about Operation Cog, you may be glad to join with us. I know that you and your knowledge will be invaluable." Nicole suddenly exclaimed, "We've got to call Sam!" Robert said, "That may not be wise. You don't want to alert the authorities of Joel's status." She looked to Joel and said, "I'll talk to him, sir. I know the code." He nodded and she began dialing the number. Sam answered. "Hello, Harry. This is Breeze. As Sir says, I'm informing you that the weather has changed and the sun is shining brightly here." There was a slight pause before Sam asked, "Are you sure? It's raining here." "Very sure," she said. "The clouds parted about a half hour ago, and the sun has brightened our spirits considerably. However, we are keeping the curtains closed." "Well, I'll be. And the moon, is it visible as well?" "Yep, as visible as the sun. Later, Harry." And with that she hung up. Joel smiled. "Very good, Breeze, although you didn't hold to the 20-second rule." Nicole frowned. "I'm sorry, sir. It couldn't be helped." He patted her hand. "No worries. Now, how about someone explaining Operation Cog?"